Welcome back to pixelprojectradio, a video game discussion and analysis podcast. My name is Rick, and today, an inside look at Inside, a puzzle and horror platforming game by Playdead Studios. Before we begin, as always, I have to thank the patrons. The patrons are the folks that keep the train moving along the tracks, and if you would like to be a conductor along with these fine conductors and people, you can check us out at patreon.com/pixelprojectradio. You can see everything that we've got on offer there, etc., etc. It'd be great if you did. We can do plugs later as per usual, but first I want to introduce my guests for today. First-timers on the show, we've got Emily and Kate and Emily from the No Small Games podcast. Thanks for joining me today. How are you two doing?
Hi, Rick. Doing great. Super excited to be here. Been listening for a long time now.
Yes, hello. Super happy to be here. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about Inside.
Yeah, likewise. I've been looking forward to working with you two for a while now, and this was a suggestion by the two of you, which I'm glad that you did. This is an interesting little game, and I'm looking forward to talking about it and seeing what kind of conversations we get into.
Yeah, interesting is the word for it.
So if you're new to the show, first of all, welcome. We're glad that you're here, and we hope that you love the show today. The show generally breaks down and looks at story-driven games. We talk about the overview at first, things like visual presentation, sounds, mechanics, things like that, before doing a beat-by-beat analysis of the story. Inside is going to be a little different. The game doesn't have a traditional story. It's a little more opaque, it's a little hazier, and they explore thematic ideas more than a, traditional narrative arc. That being said, the themes that it deals with, things like autonomy, control, free will, any number of ideas explored by George Orwell, which is a very funny way of saying his name that TikTok has poisoned my brain into. All of that's going to be very cool to talk about. However, I did want to make it clear up top, when we get into the mechanics, they kind of work in tandem with the story. That's where the spoiler zone is going to happen. Total spoilers at that point. So if you haven't played Inside, when we get to that point, we encourage you to press pause on the podcast, visit patreon.com/pixelprojectradio, play the game, and then come back to the discussion. Sound good to everybody? Good. All right, let's get into personal histories and initial thoughts. I'm going to pass it to you two first. Either of you can go first. When did you become aware of this game? When did you play it? What are your histories?
Yeah, so I think I heard about this game first from a mutual friend of mine and Emily's. She goes by Hoping for Horror, and she's like a horror content creator, video game horror. She streams horror games. Her name's Krista. She's really cool. And the three of us used to stream horror games together, me, Emily, and Krista. So yeah, she was one of the first guests on No Small Games. So she told me about the game, actually, and I noticed it was on super sale on Switch, so I picked it up then. And this must have been like 3 years ago, if not more. And I started it, and it was a little rough for me because at the time I was pretty new at video games in general. So I really liked the vibes, but I had a feeling it wasn't the right time. So it's been fun to revisit it and pick it up now because I've always been really interested in finishing it, I guess.
On my end, I had been sort of peripherally aware of Inside for a long time as one of those kind of iconic indie games. And then I had seen a couple different friends stream it on Twitch as well. Krista being one of those. And then our friend Sheila, who actually also was on No Small Games at one point. And so I'd seen little bits and pieces. I got a sense of what the vibes were, but not really where the story was headed or where what the point was quite yet. And then I think it just piqued my interest enough that it stayed in the back of my mind as one that, kind of like Kate, I wanted to return to when the time felt right. It felt like a game I wanted to kind of pick up it with intention, and be able to kind of sit with.
Yeah, absolutely. You had mentioned vibes. This game is very vibes forward, and playing it with intention, I think, is a good idea, especially to sort of engage with a lot of what's going on. I'm going to echo both of what you said. I was kind of adjacently aware of this game for some time. I am not really a huge puzzle guy or a horror guy, so it kind of just went into the eventually bin, you know what I mean? But I'm glad that you two picked it because it is fascinating. Do you either of you have any broad general thoughts that you wanted to get out before we dive into the game proper?
I guess my thoughts are more about like me as a gamer and stuff I'm really into right now, which is that like now playing it like 3 years later, picking it back up and finishing it, I feel like I'm really in my puzzle platformer era, and I love puzzle platformers. And so yeah, I just had a blast. I guess like feeling this game out, and I thought that it felt great to play, and I also really like horror, so I guess I did revisit it at the right time. But yeah, like some high level thoughts were that I really enjoyed my experience. I played with friends, with two other people on the PlayStation. It was my first game I played on my PlayStation, so I had a great time. And I got to watch Emily stream some of it too, so that was fun. But yeah, the game itself, I think it's really special and unique, and definitely different than anything I've played before. I also really like the 2D 2.5D vibe, because I can pretty much only go forward or backward, and I think that that's like actually really approachable for a puzzle game for me.
Yeah, forward and backward, and 2.5D, just like real life. Emily, do you have any overarching thoughts you wanted to share before we jump in?
Yeah, ooh, I think a lot of what Kate said I would echo. I really love the puzzle design. I think that they do a great job of, like, one of my favorite qualities in puzzle design is when the puzzles themselves and the mechanics are quite simple, but they just build on these like very few core ideas, and it winds up being very like devious at times. Not like so much so that I ever got really stuck, but just enough that you kind of like twist your brain into knots trying to figure out, okay, what do I need to do here? But it remains simple. It doesn't get super convoluted, and I appreciated that a lot. I liked I liked the vibes a lot. I think I like what you say about it being vibes forward. I think that it does some really interesting world building. And then I'm curious to hear what both of you think about the story and what we're meant to take away from it, because for me it hit in some ways, and then I can't say that the story didn't hit. It just I don't know, maybe it hit a different target than I was aiming for.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm glad that you two are here. I think you're going to fill in a lot of gaps in my own knowledge and tastes. And Kate, I think that's terrific that you're going to take a more personal approach to this. That's why I do this show. I'm not interested in being objective. Subjective is best. But Emily, going off of what you just said, I totally get what you're saying. It's not that the game doesn't hit, but I don't know. It explores some neat ideas, but not in like any real depth or in ways that, haven't been done before. But being that this is a medium of gaming where player input is kind of a big deal, it can add a unique spin, especially on the idea of autonomy. The trouble with me is, and we can maybe get into this as we go, I suppose, is that the minute by minute gameplay and the retrospective analysis made it feel like these are two totally different games. And maybe we will get into that more when we talk about mechanics. I think that might be a good idea. But long story short, yes, totally agree. It's not that it doesn't hit, it just hits in a way that maybe they didn't intend or something. I don't know. Speaking of whether it hit or not, let's hear if the Discord server thought it hit or not. Let's talk community forum. If you're new to the show, the community forum is a channel in the Discord server where community members can give thoughts and opinions on the games that we're playing and talking about, and then I read them. You write them, I read them. Doesn't get much more simple than that. And we've got two this time. First, newer contributor, but now frequent contributor, Genova's Child. Here's what they have to say. Another great side-scrolling puzzler that were in steady supply 10 years ago. Parentheses, Limbo, Oxenfree, Little Nightmares. Whilst I personally enjoyed the experience, I felt it was too brief and a little diffuse in its execution, though the ending sequence was a massive surprise. Totally, that ending it's really something special. That idea of diffuse, I'm going to hold on to that because we're going to talk about that, I'm sure. And then wrapping up the community forum, Dave Jackson, here's what Dave has to say. Limbo may have brought cinematic platformers back, but Inside was a huge step up. Just the right level of puzzle challenge, immaculate atmosphere, and enough of a mystery to keep you going for a few hours until you hit that ending. A true what the fuck moment in the best way. Yeah, I absolutely. You two both seem to chuckle a bit at the mentions of the endings. I'm guessing that you have some real feelings about that.
Yeah, I think feelings is the right word. I don't know that I've played a game recently with an ending that just truly made me like a little speechless, you know? They did a great job in that sense. I did not see that coming whatsoever.
Totally, yeah. I did not see it coming. I think I was hoping, because I think popped into Emily's stream when she was streaming the end of this. I think that's right, Em. But I was trying not to get spoiled because I wasn't quite finished yet. So I stopped watching, but I was listening a little bit, and Emily in the chat were like, what is this? And so I was kind of thinking like, oh wow, I'm gonna get my questions answered, like, and it's gonna be really surprising, was what I was assuming. And then what I saw, I could have
I'm so sorry.
And then what I saw was just something I could have never imagined. And unfortunately, like, I think it's okay to say that it's funny. Like, I was laughing quite a bit while I was playing through the last sequence of the game. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, did not see that coming. So yeah, equally surprised there.
What say we talk a little bit about the development of this game? It was released in June of 2016, available on any platform you'd like, unless you held on to your Google Stadia, in which case, sorry. You can see the full credits on the wiki, on the IMDb, or you could just beat the game. Of note, developed and published by Playdead. Director, Arndt Jensen. Produced by Mads Webro. Goodness gracious, I am going to apologize for these in advance. Animator, Andreas Normand Grundfed, designed by Jeremy C. Petriman and Merrick Bogdan. Composers, Martin Stig Anderson, and I'm guessing this is like a stylized thing. It's SOS with the O having a slash through it. SOS Gunvar Ryberg. Ooh, wiping the sweat off my brow.
I think you did the best any of us could, you know?
Yeah, that was good.
The composers are particularly interesting. The soundscapes in this game are fascinating. We'll get to those after we talk visuals. Limbo used a custom engine, and Inside began work on that. But the team switched to Unity for practicality pretty quickly. And speaking of Limbo, we mentioned that a few times. Did either of you play that game?
I have not. I've watched a decent chunk of gameplay, but I haven't played it myself.
Yeah, I haven't played. I really want to, though. I own it, so I'm like, maybe that's next. I don't know.
Yeah, I had meant to play it before recording this. Time just got away from me. Limbo was really, really successful. Like, that's what put Playdead on the map. They did so in a really big way. It was universally acclaimed. So was Inside, for what it's worth. I mean, pretty much everybody loved Inside. I think the reviews that I saw, like the lowest that I personally saw was like an 85, which that's pretty darn good. And speaking of Limbo, Inside started development pretty much immediately after Limbo came out in 2010. Nothing like some success to create some real momentum, you know? So this game is well beloved by a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think for good reason. I think it's rare to find a studio that produces two such solid games back to back. And I think, well, I don't know. I guess I can't speak because I haven't played Limbo myself, but I would say improves on an initial, like, resounding success like this.
Yeah, it's like the same vibe, right? Like it's another 2D, or it's not 2D. Well, I actually don't know. I'm thinking it's another puzzle platformer.
Yeah, my understanding is that's right, Kate. It's like a 2D puzzle platformer. From what I've seen of the visual design, I do kind of prefer Limbo. The animations in Inside are really, really quite good, though. And the visuals are good, too, don't get me wrong. But the animations are kind of really special. Speaking of animations, there is... I don't know if character is the right word, entity. There is a being in this game known as the Huddle, and I was reading that they actually took inspiration from Princess Mononoke, the motion of the Nego demon form of the boar god. Yeah, love a good influence from Studio Ghibli.
Yeah, I can
That's
see
cool.
that. I can see that.
Yeah, same.
Also, No Face sometimes kind of moves that way a couple times in Spirited Away, too.
Yeah. Yeah. Good catch.
I want to call it the Blob. Like, I get that the Huddle sounds more like
Yeah.
professional, more refined, but I'm like, I just see a blob and I hear a blob, so.
Oh no, totally. I called it the Blob all throughout. I saw one YouTuber call it the Meatball, which I like quite a bit.
That's good.
Let's talk visuals. It's very muted. It's a low saturated palette, sort of a minimalist style. There are no character faces, things like that. The color palette is all kind of, there's not a lot of gradient, at least outside of the really muddied sections. It's probably both a stylistic and pragmatic choice. It's less to edit, less finicky in that sense, but also very stylistically. What did you say earlier, Emily?
Oh no, never ask me what I've said in the past.
With intent. It was done with intent.
There we go.
Totally blanking. You love when podcasters can't speak. Pixelprojectradio at patreon.com. This also, it gives a sort of dreamlike atmosphere too, with this these really muted tones and minimalistic atmosphere and smooth animations. And I understand that Limbo kind of did that too, that sort of dreamy atmosphere.
I think that both Limbo and Inside, and I'd say Inside in particular, use darkness and shadow really effectively. I remember, because I streamed all of Inside, I remember at one point stopping and asking my chat, like, can you all see this okay? Because they kind of obscure a lot of the environments in just enough shadow so that you can barely see your character and what you're doing at times. And it's never too dark. Well, it wasn't ever too dark for me to not be able to see enough, but it really rides that line in a way that I think is very effective. And I think kind of builds on the creepy vibes.
Yeah, I feel like I'm glad you brought that up because I could not see anything when I started playing the game, and I was like, is this on purpose? Or because I have a really hard time visually understanding things, and I also don't really play games that often that are as like realistic looking as this game is. I'm kind of more drawn to like the hand drawn art, pixel art sort of vibe. So I think that really added on to the fear for me, and it felt really realistic because I thought it looked and sounded realistic. But yeah, I couldn't see anything at first and was really grateful to discover going into the settings that you can kind of turn up the brightness if you need to. So I played the whole thing with the brightness on like the max that you can go because I just wasn't really able to see anything at the normal setting, like when you start the game.
When you turn the brightness all the way up, does it get like washed out at all?
Not like, I don't really think so. Not in my experience anyway, but I could see how maybe other people might perceive it that way. But for me, I just like I kind of need things to be bigger. Like I really struggle to read small text. And so, yeah, I think I did struggle sometimes with how small the character was. But then like it is effective in the world of the game because it makes you realize like what big of a place this is and really adds to like the cinematic vibes. But yeah, I did kind of struggle visually, like understanding what I was looking at, and things were really dark. But again, I don't know how much of that is by design. So
yeah, you're both hitting on things that were at the forefront of my mind too. Kate, you just mentioned the idea of perspective. This game plays with perspective a lot and to great effect in some scenes. There is a scene kind of towards the middle, maybe 60% mark, that was really impactful for me. And a lot of it had to deal with the perspective of the shot. They never really get like claustrophobically close, but they do zoom out quite a bit to show you just how expansive these environments are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And surprisingly so. I'm wondering if I am thinking of the section you're talking about, where Sometimes there's an interesting kind of game they play with in inside environments and outside environments where things that you expect to be outside are inside and vice versa. Being a little vague since we haven't hit spoilers yet, but I think making your character so small on the screen too really accentuates like how vulnerable you feel and how aware you are that you're a little kid. Maybe, I don't know, not 9 years old, 10 years old, in this very threatening, terrifying at times environment. So I think that they really do a good job of like really making you feel that vulnerability visually.
Yeah, good point. And this is not the world for a little tyke like this. You're right. But Emily, you mentioned color, the idea of like shadow, the idea of color. I was wondering if we could sit on that for a moment. I like this game's use of color and shadows. And it can even tie into some of the themes of the game too. A large part of this game takes place inside of like this research factory. And my first go round of this, how do I want to phrase this? My first go round of this was that I kind of thought it was sort of hinting at a modern workforce kind of a story, like the doldrums of the 9 to 5 in the current socio-political climate, let's say. And I don't think, I think you could make a convincing argument from that angle. But one of the reasons that tuned me into it was partly because of, how the people are depicted totally controlled by, whomever are the authorities here. But the inside of the factory is just totally pallid. It's nothing but grays and blacks, just muted colors, totally uninspiring, totally dull, totally bleak. And, I like that they do that. And there's like one scene in this entire game where we get any sunlight. And it's part of what makes that scene particularly beautiful. I don't know. I was just really into how they were choosing to use light and shadows and color. I don't know if either of you were as taken with it as I was, but what did you think?
I personally really love the low saturated color scheme that they went with. For that same reason, I think it just all really visually, I think that the whole game really comes together to give you this one really clear feeling of desolation and kind of hopelessness and this lack of life. Even though you are seeing people, it really feels at times like you're kind of alone, very alone in these horrible spaces. So I think that having very little color except for your character's shirt, which is very interesting.
Red. What do you make of the color red? Oh, I'm so sorry, Kate. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say for me visually, I feel like the water was really important. I don't know, I like water in games a lot, so, but I guess the moments where I felt like how small I was as the playable character were like the moments where you're like sort of running and jumping off of like one platform like down into the water. Like I felt like in those moments I felt really small and understood that I was small, and also whenever you have to like pull a lever or pull something open, I'm like, this like handle on this like lever, this little lever is like the same size as me basically, or like half as big as I am. So yeah, I don't know, like I think the color was great, but I feel like overall it was just something that I struggled with a little bit visually, like understanding what I was looking at and what was going on. But still, I think it's really cinematic, and I felt like there was a certain brightness whenever I did jump into the water, so I really liked those moments in the game.
You mentioned that you think the water is important. Would you mind expanding on that? Like, do you mean important to like your idea of the story or what it's trying to say, or like mechanically? I'd love to hear more.
Oh, I guess like kind of all of it. Like I felt the most comfortable mechanically underwater. Like I think the swimming feels really good, even though in the first half of the game you don't really get to stay underwater for that long. But like navigating that submarine underwater feels like one of the most like memorable moments for me in the game. And yeah, I feel like I just felt smaller underwater. I don't really know if that makes sense, but that's just how I felt. So I thought it sounded great, and it just felt great to be in the water.
No, totally. I know what you mean. Feeling small, I think a lot of what we're talking about by sheer fact that this game is so intentionally opaque and what else did I say? Hazy, ambiguous, I think is a good term to use. Let me pull out my thesaurus. I'm sure somebody out there, this is just a side note that I was thinking about myself. I'm always self-conscious about the way that I speak. And I feel like someone out there is probably like, oh, Rick's got a word of the day calendar and he's just trying to act like a smarty pants. And if that's you, I'll have you know that I don't have that calendar. I have a calendar of, I don't know, sexy firemen. I don't, but I'm just making something up.
That would be cool. That'd be cooler if you did.
Yeah, be a lot cooler if you did.
So cool.
But no,
Yeah.
I think because this is such an ambiguous story, it lends to a variety of interpretations through a large amount of different scopes. And I think that's part of what, at least to me, draws me to a story, draws me to a narrative, is the ability to bring something personal, like you were saying at the beginning, Kate, to this experience and speak to it from there. I don't have a problem with scripted stories. Of course not. I mean, some of the best stories in the world and all of history have been scripted. See all of literature. But these more ambiguous sorts of storytelling techniques makes for interesting discussions, which, you know, again, see the Grease episode, interpretation as co-creation. What we're doing here is special and unique to us. And that's, you know, games like this are a vehicle for that. And that alone makes them worth their weight in gold. IMO.
Very true.
Yeah.
Sound design. I'm very curious to hear what you two thought of the sound design here. The music, or should I say the lack thereof, and other sound elements to this game.
I always like to hear Kate's take first. Kate often helps me think of things and sort of solidify my own thoughts. So,
Oh, thanks, Emily.
Kate is our sound person. Kate is our sound focused person of the duo. I'm the eyes. Kate's the ears.
That's right. Emily's eyes and I'm ears.
That's true. That's true. Kate is the resident jazz fan as well.
Exactly.
A booming jazz expert.
Blooming is the keyword, not expert. But yeah, I feel like it's funny. This game, I turned it up so loudly, like I turned it up really, really loud when I was playing because I kept waiting for music and I was like, oh, I want to hear the music. I want to hear the music. But then when I turned it up, I was like, oh, what I'm hearing though is just this like really like something that makes me feel uncomfortable because it sounds so realistic. We haven't really touched on it yet, but there are quite a few, in my opinion, grotesque things in this game, and they're reinforced visually, but they're also like really reinforced with the sound effects, I would say.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're just like, and you in the game, you can die, but then you come right back to life and you keep going. So if you get caught by a dog or if you drown in the water or fall off of a platform that's too high up, the visuals and sounds of dying are just honestly at times were a bit much for me. So yeah, I think for me, I just noticed how realistic and effective the sound design was. There are a lot of like when you pull a lever or like unlock an elevator, or it sounds very like mechanical and industrial. Those are kind of the things that stood out to me. And I thought that the soundscape was really, really detailed and realistic. And I think it works. But I was just waiting for music, and I honestly can't even remember if/when music played. So maybe both of you noticed that. I would love to hear if there was any music.
Very sparse.
Yeah, I can't think of any music. I do want to upvote what you said, Kate, about the death scenes being both just grotesque and long, very long.
So long.
Unnecessarily long, but I don't know, maybe it drove home a point. I feel like the soundscape to me just like paired very well with the visuals in that it felt kind of muted, but not in an audio way. Muted in a way where it was lacking life. Like everything was very mechanical.
Yeah.
There's a lot of grinding and clanking and yeah, just very, very mechanical sounding, environments. Also, you did remind me, Kate, that the huddle and some of the other creatures, beings that you encounter make just the wildest sounds. They really said, we're pulling out all the stops on the sound design with these characters because it was just a little hard to listen to it at certain times.
Yeah, and the dogs are so scary sounding. I was like, I cannot hear this.
Yeah.
Like, I had to turn the audio down whenever I encountered the dogs because it really stressed me out and made me scared. And like, that says a lot to me when I have to turn the sound off because I try to never do that in a game, but it was so unsettling. There's a lot of unsettling sounds in this game, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I was pretty shocked the first time that I got got by the dogs. They're vicious. And especially like anytime you go splat, like capital S splat.
Splat. It's a good way
really
to describe
nice.
what it sounds like.
Emily, I had pressed Kate a little bit earlier. I want to press on something that you said now. You had mentioned that the sound at times lacks life. And I'm curious, did you mean the music when it's present, or do you mean more like the soundscapes are really still and lacking a lot of sound, like barren? Which one of those did you mean?
I'd say barren and like inorganic. There's not a lot of like organic sound.
Okay.
You don't get like animals, birds, even like wind,
Well, you do
unless
get some
it's
piggies.
like manufactured. You do get some piggies. And when you do hear creatures, when you hear animals, when you hear people,
I hated
it's
that.
always groans and really pained sounds. You never get even like fake dialogue, right? You don't even get like chatter or anything like that, really. It's mostly machines and just the most pained sounds from the few creatures you run into.
Yeah. Do you two feel like the stillness overall is a boon to this work, or did it leave you feeling lacking? And I apologize if you alluded to that and I just totally missed it. Like any good podcaster, I don't listen. I just wait for my turn to talk. But do you think the still soundscapes, like, or the inorganicism of it all, do you think that was a boon to it? Like, did it heighten the sort of creepy experience for you, or did it leave you wanting a little bit more?
I think for me it worked. I think that I don't know if there had been more music. I don't know what quality in music, what type of music or what I'd be looking for that would have added to, I think, the experience they were trying to create. So for me, the silence really worked, but I don't know. What do you think, Kate?
I'm quite uncomfortable in silence just generally. Like when I'm alone, I'm like, I need something. So it was interesting because I feel like the horror for me, and I don't know if this bills itself as a horror game. I actually have no idea, but I feel like for me the sound design was the terror and the horror because it sounds they nailed it. Like if that's what they were going for, was to make me I guess feel disturbed and grossed out. They definitely did that. So I think it works. And like, I'm with you there, Emily. Like, I don't know what kind of music I would have wanted or what would have felt right. I think there's a good chance that if there was a lot of music, it would have, like, severely changed the vibe. So I appreciate the approach that they took here with just having really strong and realistic sound effects to sort of ground, like, it helped to ground me in the world, I guess. And to that, I would also say when I'm trying to solve puzzles, I get a little distracted if there's music because I want to listen to the music. So it kind of helped me lock in mentally as well.
Yeah, I get what you mean. And for what it's worth, I am also trying to become more comfortable in silence. So I get you. But no, I totally get what you mean. The choice to not include a lot of music, to be so sparse and intermittent, that's definitely an intentional choice. It's a technique. And like any technique, so to that end, I think if they did add more music, like especially I'm thinking like what would be appropriate for here, like maybe that sort of industrial sort of grinding. I think you used that word, Kate, or maybe it was Emily. That sort of grinding, industrial, sort of Nine Inch Nails adjacent kind of music that you see in some horror games. Like my mind is saying Amnesia, but I don't know if that's correct. I feel like if they did that, it would be it would feel like that technique is calling attention to itself in a negative way that would have made me think like, oh, this is too much. Like they're trying to be creepy. Whereas the choice to be silent so often, especially when so many folks feel uncomfortable in silence, Kate, I think that choice is bold and it's confident. And I love that they did that. I think that they took that risk and it paid off for them, or at least I think.
I think so. I think it
Totally
really did.
agree.
For me, it actually helps the game be more cinematic. I think if they had any music choice, I think would have come off like they were trying to make the game really cinematic. So I think interestingly, the lack of music actually for me made it more more cinematic somehow.
And speaking of the lack of music, this is going to make it tough to decide where I want to put in the few tracks that this game has. Or maybe it's just one big continuous track. I don't know. It's probably like a half hour of music, maybe. Who knows? Hey there, folks. Future Rick here. I would be remiss not to bring up this little factoid, and I don't know how we forgot to mention it. Composer Martin Stig Anderson actually recorded a lot of this music from inside of a human skull. He says the following: I had the basic idea of trying to recreate sounds as they would sound if they were happening inside your head. That was the curious thought that led me to acquire a human skull, as one does, and experiment with it, end quote. Gives a whole new meaning to the phrase jaw-dropping. Indeed, the teeth rattled so much they fell out, is what was reported. And his line of thinking makes sense. We hear things ever so slightly different than they sound in the real world. Take your human voice, for example. As I record to you into this microphone, it sounds a little different to me than when it gets shot into your ear holes. And that's partly, of course, due to the compression of the audio format in which you're listening, Spotify, wherever. That, and then further compressed by your phone speakers. That does happen. But it sounds a little different for me because I not only hear my voice reverberating off of the walls and the floor and the various objects within my room, but it's also reverberating inside of my head. The skull does actually vibrate ever so slightly. This is why your voice sounds a little different to you, and when you hear it on a recording, you might think, oh my God, I can't believe I sound that way. You do sound that way to everybody else, and we perceive it as normal. You're perceiving it as weird because, well, it's not what you hear. Fun little factoid. So it's a cool little idea that the composer had. And I think it was mostly successful, giving that sort of ambient, quasi-muffled sound. Pretty cool stuff.
He's so cool.
And with that little factoid, let's get back to the episode. Well, we've talked a bit about everything high level. The only things left that I would really like to touch on are mechanics and a discussion on the story. And that being so, it's about time to throw up that spoiler wall, or to tear down the spoiler wall, I guess. So if you haven't played this game, I really think that you should give it a try. It's very short and digestible. It's a snack. You could play it and get through it generously in about 3 to 3.5 hours. If you know everything to do, or if you're particularly keen, you could get through it in just under 2. So if any of this sounds even remotely interesting to you, by all means, press pause, go and play it, and then come back. The internet's forever. We'll be here waiting for you. But that being said, do either of you have anything else that you wanted to say before we dive in and start dissecting this game?
I guess I just want to say, since you mentioned the length, I felt like the length was perfect. And I know, I think one of the Discord members mentioned it feeling a little short. And I could see maybe wanting more of a story from this same universe. But for me, I feel like this was like just the perfect snack of a game, and I really appreciated the length.
Oh yeah, I would definitely echo that. I love a short game. And I feel like it still took me, I don't know, maybe like a little over 4 hours. So I feel like I really love the length, and I don't think that I want more at this point in time. So,
no seconds for Kate.
yeah.
Yeah, here. I totally agreed. It's a great length. Any more and it would have just overstayed its welcome. For sure. That being said, let's talk a little bit about what this game has to say. Let's go through the narrative, or at least what's suggested of it, in Playdead's Inside. So I have written down some of what I perceive to be some themes that the game may or may not be delving into or brushing up against. I want to hear what you two have to say, though. What were you thinking as you went through this? Either identifiable themes, feelings, emotions. What did this game inspire in you?
Kate, do you want to...
I know I'm always very self-conscious of asking big questions to guests because I know that I've been thinking about this, and it's kind of like throwing a jack in the box at somebody and being like, okay, you got to answer before this thing pops. And it's like, you know what I mean? If you need a second to think about it, I'm happy to blabber on a little bit first.
Well, I guess I'll just say that I thought, like, when you start the game, you start, like, in a forest and you're kind of on the run, and there's guys chasing you and dogs chasing you, and it's pretty stealthy. So I kind of thought, oh, the majority of this game will take place outside, like in nature, and it will be stealth, and we will be on the run, and we're escaping from something. Like, in my head, I thought we just committed a crime and we're running away from home or something, but that was not what I think ended up happening. But yeah, I guess I'll just say that the way that it all kind of wraps up had me kind of thinking that it was just about, like, I guess I'll say the game doesn't really give you like a clear answer. I feel like in my experience, it's giving you that opportunity to take your own interpretation away from it, or your own themes. And some themes that kind of stood out to me were like working all the time until you die, and that's it. So I'm still kind of like ruminating on it, to be honest, because I finished it the night before last. And it definitely didn't give me any answers, any concrete answers. So I'm still kind of in that processing moment of trying to figure out what exactly I pulled from my experience, to be honest.
Sure. Works like this are alive, and to keep them so, we have these conversations. And that's, sometimes that's where the best interpretations come from, are these collaborative discussions, That's why it's so important. That's why I always say, and I can't remember who said this, that stuff like literature is a social activity. You could certainly do it alone, but, some of the real gems are with other people. I don't know.
Totally.
I totally see what you mean with the aspect of working. That's, like I said, that's something that I keyed into as well, especially with how it's presented, how these workers are presented, and the reveal toward the end, again, full spoilers, that it's kind of a research facility observing these sort of brainwashed folks. Very, very easy to see this as a sort of parallel to modern work culture. And I think that's a totally valid view of it, especially, well, I was going to say especially considering the ending, but then there's also a secret ending that kind of puts a wrinkle into all of this. It's very interesting. Emily, what about you? Did you key into what Kate and I did? Did you think about anything different?
Yeah, so I really like what you said earlier on, Rick, about it feeling like there are kind of two game experiences here when it comes to the narrative and themes. The one you have while you're playing, and then the one that you have afterwards when it kind of all sinks in, and maybe you're able to go back and I think that there are a lot of really interesting little details that they work into the background and the environment, things you're not necessarily going to see in the moment because they're asking you to do, things very urgently, right? Mechanically. And so you don't necessarily pick up on everything. And so I think I have the observations that I made while playing, and then a lot of the kind of thematic stuff that I sort of, my own personal interpretation has been formed in the days, weeks, I guess, after, since I finished. So I guess that's something I want to say, like, take some of this with a grain of salt, because it's not something that I necessarily like picked up on while playing. I think thematically, the thing that really stuck out the most to me while playing was this idea of using humans as a resource. And I think that starts even before you start to see the mind controlled people. I think the whole slaughterhouse theme with the pigs at the very beginning, to me, kind of sets you up for that idea of we're taking a kind of an exploitative system where we're taking these like, kind of noble creatures with dignity, and we're reducing them down to a resource to be used and abused however we see fit, because we can. And I think that's kind of where that was my main takeaway, without really a like, so what, through to the very end. Really, I think I was waiting to see what the goal of our protagonist was, and then I got to the end and realized that was my central question, and it never really got answered, at first glance. So I think that, like, post playing and after letting all of this absorb a little bit, my take is one of the main themes is around freedom, especially when you're in a system like this that is very exploitative. And you're one of those people being treated like a resource and sort of having that dignity taken away. How do you get free from that when you're stuck inside? Where's freedom to be found, and how do you get there? So, and I think that the secret ending is really interesting from that standpoint. But I don't know if we're going to talk about. I'll let you lead us into whenever we talk about that, Rick.
Hey, this ship has 3 steering wheels. It is not compliant, but it is cooperative, goddammit.
I just wanted to say really quick that Emily talking about that reminded me, or I guess maybe think about how you also, as the playable character, treat the other people in the game as resources as well, and you kind of manipulate and use them to move things around the world and to progress. So I think I knew that while I was playing the game, but it didn't really click for me until I just heard Emily talk about her thoughts on the story. So that's helpful.
Oh, absolutely. That is most definitely, it's got to be intentional. And I think too, you're both making great observations. I think they set up that idea of using people as resources in one way or the other by having the factory occur directly after that slaughterhouse. Apparently, and we've never played Limbo, so take this for what it's worth. But I was reading somewhere that you encounter that pig pretty early on in the slaughterhouse, and it's screaming, it's squealing. And to get past it, you have to kind of let it bonk its head into the wall, and then you yank a worm out of its butt that's like controlling it and making it aggressive. Apparently, those are like mind control devices from Limbo. And a lot of folks theorize that, okay, that means that this is in the same universe. But having, one, having that mind control thingy, but 2, just having a slaughterhouse where animals are lined up to be used as resources, and then straight away going into a factory where people are literally lined up and being ogled like animals. It's, it's a pretty damning, it's a pretty damning example that I think you're both exactly right. That's what they were trying to do.
Can I just throw in a little observation, or just a little note about the part where you pull the worm out? And this is kind of going back to visuals. There were times, and this is like a very minimal visual style, there's not a huge amount of detail. There were times where I did not pick up on what was going on, and the worm is one of them. When I was playing, I fully thought that you just rip the pig's tail off and like that somehow pacifies it. And then I read about the worm and the tie-in to Limbo, and that makes so much sense. But I'd say visually that is maybe the one of its little flaws.
I feel like I actually had to look that part up, because I was like, as a gamer, like as me, Kate, a gamer right now in 2025, with the amount of games that I've played, like I would never think that that was the answer to solve to progress. And so I was just like, what? There's no way that that's what I'm supposed to do. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm going to do that. So there were a couple moments mechanically where I did not understand. Like I just didn't have the instincts of what to do, I guess, that were super clear. And that was definitely one of those moments with the pig.
That is interesting. That actually leads into my next discussion point. This game sort of takes place largely in 3 acts: getting to the research facility, inside of the research facility, and then getting out of the research facility. But right at the beginning, and we'll talk through each one, step by step. Right at the beginning, I think it does something that I really love: teaching through play. This is a huge conversation in places like music and language learning. Maybe obviously, but those are the 2 that I always associate with it because I like those things. And it's something that I think about a lot. This idea of teaching not being rigid, neither being rigid nor natural, something that kind of that childlike innocence and play gets sort of yanked out of us by, see the current system and how everything is set up, the doldrums of the 9 to 5 preparations for that. Maybe that was intentional, but I love that they let you discover how to get through sort of by trial and error and by just asking you to play around in the environment. But now that you say that, Kate, now I'm wondering if it's maybe a prerequisite to be familiar with these sort of adventure puzzles and platformers. And maybe it's not as simple as just saying learn through play or learn through observation. Maybe I'm off base there.
Well, maybe for more patient people too, it could be like learn through play, but there comes a point because play is supposed to be fun in my mind. So if I'm no longer having fun and I can't figure it out, then I want to just like figure out how to keep going. But yeah, I do think like for the most part, what like once I thought about it in the way of like I can only go forward and back, so it has to be something in my immediate environment that I have to interact with to progress. Once I kind of changed the way I was thinking about it, it was helpful. But in that moment, that's pretty early on. I was just like, what could this possibly be? Like, how do I approach this? I was like chasing the pig and trying to get it to line up with the wall so I could jump over it. And I was like, it just doesn't feel intuitive to me. And I think there were maybe a couple other moments, none that are sticking out in my brain right now, but that just felt a little bit unintuitive for me at this point in time. And that's just my own experience.
Sure. No, I totally get that. I think with the pig at first I tried to ride it and then I realized that wasn't going to happen.
That's a fun approach.
It weren't in no mood for that, I can tell you. Did you feel like similarly, Emily? Like, did you think any of this was unintuitive?
Yeah, I think there were times, I'm trying to remember exactly why. Like, I think I briefly got stuck on the pig, but just because, again, it didn't feel like it logically made sense. I didn't know that that was a worm, for one. So I think that having played Limbo would maybe have helped a little bit for that little, because it's kind of a wink at their previous game. I
Sure.
think that there are some moments too, because you can't necessarily scan an environment to understand what's going to be interactable. There are obviously like levers and buttons and that sort of thing that you look at and immediately go, well, of course. But there were occasionally other things that you could manipulate in some way that just didn't look, that sometimes they didn't even just stand out at all to me. And so there was a little bit of a process of kind of trying to walk over to things and just sort of seeing what I could grab. But yeah, there were some moments where I felt like it was teetering on unintuitive.
Yeah, okay. I can definitely see where you're both coming from. I am pretty sure that I ran into a few of those, but I can't recall for the life of me what they might have been right now. Maybe I'll think of it whenever we're going through. Some of these are definitely less intuitive than others, that's for sure. Especially, I mean, starting out, it's your kind of standard. You're walking, you're running, you're grabbing, you're pushing. Nothing too crazy there. They start to introduce these roadblocks and obstacles and gadgets and doodads the further you go, especially in the research facility. And I can see some of those being a little unintuitive. Some of the water stuff gave me a little bit of trouble, especially once you start controlling it with levers and such. But Yeah, I don't know. I think whether they accomplish this by being just the right amount of intuitive or whether they maybe missed the mark and were a little unintuitive, I do think that, and they could tell me I'm wrong. I do think that their gameplay philosophy seems to be solving puzzles through experimentation. Um, and I don't know. I find that to be a very valuable thing. Um, I don't know. I think about this a lot. I don't know if you two do. I think a lot about how we're taught and expect to learn, and how often just experimentation and trying things just doesn't happen, especially in adults, because we're so self-conscious of being wrong or being viewed as not good enough or afraid of failing, especially now that social media, geez Louise, I mean, everybody curates their life so pristinely that failing feels 10 times worse than it should. And I don't know that I have the answer to getting back to that sort of childlike wonder and play, but it's something that I search for every day. I don't know. So like when I play a game that asks me to just fool around, to see also Outer Wilds. I mean, that was a terrific version of this. It just, I, as somebody that plays a lot of JRPGs, games like this that just say, try it and see what happens. I don't know. It makes me feel really good. And then it starts getting me thinking about this stuff for real life. And then I get on a soapbox with two folks who are new to the show and they're thinking, what the hell is this guy's problem? Right?
Well, I totally agree. I feel like it's hard to, we don't give ourselves enough room for experiment and failure and play in our everyday lives, either at work or not at work. So, and I guess I'll just add that when I played this game with other people, it was really fun because I was like, oh, obviously we need to go here and do this next. And then somebody else would be like, no, what if you tried this? And so it's just like fun. It did really encourage that conversation between the three of us that were playing inside together and like getting to try it everybody's way until we found the right way. And sometimes this person would have it right on the first guest and sometimes I would have it right. So it was a really, I think that proved to be true for my experience anyway with the game, that they do give you a lot of room to just kind of figure it out. And I think that is really empowering and fun.
I agree. And I think that generally the game does a good job of setting you up. I'd say like 90% of the time in the puzzle platforming, the game sets you up well to be able to experiment and kind of create hypotheses about, okay, maybe it's like this and try it out and then, fail and iterate. I think that when you're not told, when you're not given explicit instruction and you are in that kind of sandboxy style experimentation environment, it really helps the player out if things behave in a logical way, in a way that, you can imagine in the real world they might, if you're not given a little bit more, to go off of. And they do introduce some things in this game that I think don't behave the way you would immediately assume they would. Like a game like Henry Halfhead is a great example of a sandboxy game that just throws a bunch of stuff at you and you kind of just figure out, by testing stuff out what it does. But almost everything in that game behaves the way you would expect it to. I think things like the submarine in this game, there's a boost ability to it that you need for a few puzzles, and I think it wasn't quite introduced enough times for me to remember to use it halfway through during puzzles, because I don't think of submarines as having rocket boosters, you know what I mean? And so like that being the thing that I should try that. I'd already forgotten that the submarine could do that. Yeah. On the flip side, they have these little boxes that have like a pull handle that when you do that on a timer after pulling the handle, they shoot straight up in the air, which also doesn't exist in the world that I know of. But they have you use it so many times consecutively that by halfway through the game, every time I saw one of those boxes, I was like, I know what that does. And I was able to remember that that was an option that I could experiment with while solving one of their puzzles.
Yeah, they condition you in that way. I'm with you about the submarine thing. I discovered that completely on accident, and it wasn't even like being confronted with one of those walls that you need to crack down. I don't know how it happened. Those spring boxes are pretty darn cool because yeah, like I don't know of anything that exists like that either. Maybe I don't hang out in the right clubs, but they play a lot with like weight with those, right? Like you have to they'll go up a different what do you call it? They rise to different heights depending on whether or not you are on top of it. And to get cleverly around that, sometimes they ask you to use two. Sometimes they ask you to shoot one up and then extend a bar, like a plank, to get it to fall onto that, which will then allow you to go up even higher. They do some neat stuff with those, and especially like towards the end, don't they like ask you to do one on top of the other in a kind of cool way?
Yeah, yeah. I loved those. I really loved what they did with those boxes because even though the box felt very fictional in concept, it always behaved the way you thought it would. Like, I love that standing on top of it weighs it down and it doesn't go as high. Like, that kind of stuff, the world has its little internal logic that you can kind of guess at and predict. And I really love that.
Yeah, totally agreed. Let's talk a little bit about this first section, getting to the factory. I mean, what do you think you do? You get to the factory. We had mentioned already that it starts out, I think, Emily, you mentioned this, running in the forest away from these authority figures. They seem to be looking for you. I mean, they've got vehicles, they've got flashlights, they've got dogs that track you and eat you if you get caught. They are searching for somebody. It may or may not be you. It's unclear at first. Here's something that I had thought of that I'm curious to hear what you two think. I had heard a criticism of this game that, this opening is full of tension, right? You don't know why you're being hunted. You don't want to get caught. If you do get caught, it's game over, quote unquote. You need to run through this dark and deep wood. However, because the game tries to teach you through trial and error, there are a lot of deaths and restarting that tend to break up the tension. I'm wondering if you two agree or disagree with that.
I did experience that several times where I'd be trying to kind of live interpret the path I was supposed to take and fail, like, oh, I'm supposed to wait here instead of jump and then jump, or I'm supposed to double back or something like that. And then dying and then requiring that death to then like be able to figure out how to proceed. I don't know that it broke the tension though. The death scenes are so awful that it made me not want to have to experience that again. So maybe it kept the tension up for me. How about you, Kate?
I don't know. I'm not trying to brag here, but I feel like this was the one section that was really intuitive for me, like the running and hiding and jumping. I know there are some moments where you have to die because they're trying to teach you things, but and maybe it's just because I remember playing through this first section like 3 years ago and really being bad at it, and so maybe I'm just remembering that thinking back to that and being like, wow, I've improved so much, like, as a gamer. But yeah, this section for me was really exciting, and I don't really think that when I did die the few times that I did, that it ruined any tension for me. I think this is for me, like, one of the most memorable parts of the game, and one of the strongest sections is the forest at the beginning. So, but I just really like stealth, and I was just really into it. I was locked in.
Totally. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. And that tension is only heightened because the only sounds throughout this beginning are the wind howl. It's either the wind howling or water rushing. I don't quite remember which. Footsteps, and then, the dogs going nuts if they see you.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Kate. I didn't die too many times. I died on the first log, literally the first thing that can kill you, just because I didn't see it. And I think there's a point where you have to run and then quickly backtrack to not get caught in the flashlights that are looking for you. And if they catch you, the dogs come out, and those dogs are quick, man. Like, they're gonna get you, and they got me, and they ate me.
So
So I
fast.
definitely died like that. I think there's something there that it breaks up the pacing if you're dying a lot here. And I think mostly this is pretty intuitive. Like, you might die a couple times like I did. I think, and this is something that I meant to mention earlier. I think, and this is going to come off as a total backhanded compliment. I think, and let me see how many other parentheticals I can put in before I actually get to the stupid point I'm trying to make. I think that they are pretty darn good at making puzzles, but perversely, I think that kind of works against them in terms of pacing sometimes. And that's part of why I felt like in the beat by beat play of this game, the minute by minute, I was very aware that I was playing a game. And it wasn't until I finished and started thinking back that I was like, yeah, this is actually kind of cooler than I think it was coming off. Which is why I said that it kind of feels like two different games to me. Their puzzles are just crafted just so. Like, sometimes you have a perfect amount of time to solve one, and if it's even a little late, you're toast. They're crafted so well that I kind of forgot that I was playing a game that had something to say. It just kind of felt like a fun puzzle game, which nothing wrong with that, but there's clearly more they were trying to do. Does that make sense?
No, I agree. I feel like it in some ways it reminded me a little bit of other puzzle platformers that are just like level by level, like you're sort of presented the puzzles in that way a lot of the time, where it's like new room, new puzzle, here you go. And if you took a step back, there's not really like a in-world reason for that puzzle to exist sometimes. It's just like you said, they're really good at puzzles. So it's like, we made a cool puzzle for you, and I'm not mad about it. But I agree, it kind of like, it made the experience a little disjointed sometimes.
Yeah, that was definitely my experience too. Like, I feel like I was just really focused on solving the puzzles and not really uh, super concerned about what the big themes were or what the story. I wanted to know once I heard that there was a freaky weird thing happening at the end. Like, I was like really looking forward to that, but I was really focused on solving the puzzles. And I played this really awesome puzzle platformer called Ibn Ob. It's like a co-op puzzle platformer, and they really don't have a story, but it's like one of my favorite games because I feel like the puzzle platforming is so thoughtful. And so, yeah, I definitely see what you're saying, and I feel like I had a similar experience where it was hard. If this is what you're saying, like, it's hard for me to really think about the story and the themes when I'm just trying to having fun solving some really well-crafted puzzles, like you said. So I would definitely agree.
Yeah, a combination of the puzzles being so good and the story being so diffuse, I think, is, that seesaw is maybe a little bit off kilter. And, there are just a lot of really coinky dink pieces of puzzle solving laying around that it's like, okay. Like, it's backhanded compliment. I know. I wouldn't call that a con of the game, just an observation. Man, and by the way, you two are so hip to a lot of games that I just have never heard of before. It's like at any time I like am speaking with you two, it's like you're dropping all these names, and I'm just like, I've never heard of those.
We're like not listening to Bob Dylan. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Anywho's, the rest of this opening section, getting to the factory. I guess there's one more core mechanic introduced here, the mind control helmets that you use throughout here. I thought these were so darn cool. I really like these.
I agree. And I like that, unlike a lot of the other puzzle elements, they speak to the story too. And I think, Kate, you talked about the idea that like you're also like you as a character and you as the player are also treating people, kind of objectifying people and exploiting them, treating them as resources. I think those moments did a good job of making me remember the story at the same time that I was solving a puzzle, because it was kind of disturbing to have to use the mind control helmets to kind of puppet around these people.
Yeah, it goes directly back to what you were both saying about using them as resources. And you really do. Like as when you start, you're controlling like actually when you start, I think you control like three people. But you know, one, two, three at first, and eventually you're just controlling like 20 of them with no regard to like safety. You're tossing them off cliffs. You're like throwing them down chasms and then jumping onto them so you yourself don't get hurt. It like at a certain point it becomes noticeable. Like I think I noticed it and I laughed, and then I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's kind of unsettling.
Yes, I had a similar moment where I was like I feel terrible for laughing. There's some physical comedy going on, but at the same time, the second you think about what it actually means in the world of the game, it's just awful. But
Yeah, I'm like, am I allowed to laugh? Because I'm definitely laughing. But then also at times I felt bad. So yeah, it's like, it's a lot of, I wasn't really sure if I was feeling right. But I guess there's no wrong way to feel when you're playing a game. I don't know. Yeah, it's a little conflicting.
Yeah, cool stuff. There's a lot of cool stuff here. Then we get to the research facility. This is the longest section by far. That makes up probably, I'd say like 65% if I'm just guesstimating. I don't know. And there's some cool stuff that takes place in here. One of the first striking ones that you may have seen in screenshots is the mimicking the crowd section, kind of like a red light, green light in a way. This is where it really like hits home, as I think Kate, you said this earlier, where it's like they're clearly using the humans as a sort of resource somehow, for some reason. You're being observed by these real dystopian George Orwell cameras and researchers with clipboards. There's even like it almost looks like a group of, not like a family, but like a just group of bystanders watching you, like ogling you. There's some dehumanization going on here. To what end, who knows? But this puzzle is super neat. You have to stay in line and march with this crowd, line by line, single file. It's like 8 to 10 steps, and they stop. And then if you're too late, you get kind of shocked and taken away. If you move too early, you get shocked and taken away. Then you have to do like a little mimicking section where 4 of you jump, 4 of you turn around, and if you don't do it, you get taken away. I don't know. This was cute. I liked it a lot.
I like the use of cute. But yeah, it was.
Yeah. I feel like this. Oh, go ahead, Em.
Oh, I was just gonna say I like that when you're kind of being followed around by this like drone camera, because clearly there's some sort of security system that can detect like there's something funny about you, and it's one of the few times that I feel like you see the kid acting like a kid, because he kind of looks at the camera and is like, ooh, oh, you know, like kind of looking awkward, and I was like, oh, nice. Like I don't know, you have like this tiny moment of humanity for your own character too.
Yeah, and also like this is one of the moments where I think they like, I hope this happened and I'm not just making it up, where like it's like they sort of zoom in a little bit so you can see yourself in a different way. Like the perspective is different, or maybe not the perspective, but I just felt like I was bigger in this moment because you kind of have to pay attention to what the other people around you are doing so that you can mimic them. So I kind of appreciated that too, whereas like, oh, now I can see, they're like letting me zoom in a little bit and I can see, I can pay attention to the details more in a more like approachable way, I guess. I thought that made an impression on me.
Yeah, that's well observed. I got kind of nervous at one point, because like you said, the perspective is pushed in a little bit, and I can't remember if it's corners or just passing across like a support beam, like for the building, but you go like the camera has to pass by an object, and I got worried that I was like, oh no, am I gonna have to like do something while I can't see my guy? You don't. They are a little more considerate than that. This section is neat. You get caught at the end no matter what, and you have to like make a break for it. Really exciting. I got caught here, I think twice, maybe once. But you have to run out and the dogs almost catch you. There's just enough time to do a jump off of the building and into another one through the window. It's like half of an action scene. It's really cool. And that begins this like big descent. There's this huge descent in this game where you're just going down, down, down through the waters. You get into a submarine, like one of you said earlier. Did I write subway? Oh yeah, okay. There is a subway. It's entirely it's entirely flooded. I'm so conditioned by games like Silent Hill 2 where there's a descent that it's just like, well, and Silent Hill 1, where there's a descent of seemingly inhumane proportions, like proportions that just don't make sense, to think that this is like madness is setting in, like somebody is going insane. I don't know. This was pretty unsettling to me. I love this whole area. If you couldn't tell, it's really cool.
It is cool, and like it gives you clues as to what is going on or what's being developed or produced, but not many. So you I don't know. I spent a lot of this time trying to speculate. Okay, well, what are the people who run this factory or who ran this factory? What were they trying to do here? Because you've got, like you said, you've got this subway. There's a lot of water sections. There's like an indoor forest with artificial trees. Just a lot of just interesting, surprising environments. And I'm glad you pointed out the descent, because I feel like I didn't really notice that while playing. But in retrospect, it doesn't make sense how you continue just going down and down and down through all of these really bizarre factory areas.
Yeah, this whole factory like shouldn't exist. This is like an MC Escher built factory of twisting and turning. It's like the Seinfeld apartment, where it's like if you look at it on paper, it cannot exist. Like this factory cannot exist.
Yeah, it definitely reminds me of like a movie set or like something like that. I don't know. That's what I was thinking about while I was playing.
Yeah, totally. This is, down here in the water. This is super cool. This is the first instance of you seeing these light avoidant, creepy creatures that kind of look like a cross between the girl from The Ring and those troll dolls of the 90s with the hair.
Yes. Yeah, the hair is very troll doll-esque.
I love these.
Yeah, when I first saw them, because I can't see very well, I was like, is this me but with hair, like as the character? I was really confused. But yeah, they're really cool. I think the people I was playing with found the troll girls, as you put, Rick, sort of like the most annoying part of the game and most difficult. But I thought I liked that they were. I feel like I understood pretty quickly that they were afraid of the light and that you could like trap one of them in that room if you push the button. I thought this whole section was really fun.
Yeah, they like the first time you encounter them, you're moving forward and it puts them directly in the light, and it kind of teaches you that way. I thought these were friendly because like when they're in the light, they seem a little timid, and then they swim away and then they swim back to you, and they don't swim like in a jerky man. Like it's mostly smooth. It doesn't look unsettling. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe they'll just like hug onto me or like give me a little push. No, she breaks your submarine window and like gets inside. and it's if they grab you, whether you're inside the submarine or outside of it, they will drown you. And this is so cool in retrospect, because what I wrote was they really want to grab you and drown you. Separate indentation ... or do they? This recontextualization after like a climactic scene is so cool. I don't know. These little critters were one of my favorite parts of this game. They're so creepy. They're so fast too. And you had mentioned, Emily, the submarine booster pack, that you never expect a submarine to have rockets, because they don't. But if you, so you can use that to get away from these little things. But if you hit into a wall that's not breakable, your submarine kind of, it takes a second to get its bearings back, and your light goes out. And if that happens, these things go crazy. They come at you with feverish speed, and they will get you. That scared me so much when that happened to me the first time.
Yeah, I loved this section. This was the one section that I felt like was proper horror to me, and I loved it, and I was terrified of them. just there's something about being underwater and that like limited kind of like everything's a little hazy and you've got limited visibility and also like you move a little slower and then they are so fast and just feel so vicious. I just love these sections. And then so you spend a couple sections with them in the sub when you're in the sub, and I could tell at one point they're gonna put me back in the water without a sub, huh? And make me deal with these guys just on my own, just me, little boy, me on my own in the water. And then they did, and I was like, oh, you guys, you bastards. But it was really good. I love these sections.
Yeah, big fan. Really liked it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that we're all in agreement. Cool little section. There's also a little puzzle after this where there's like a pressure plate, and the reading on it is like 19 because there's one zombie figure that's just standing on it. And if you stand on it, it goes down to 18. You have to gather a total of 19 of these soulless puppets to stand on this thing to get a door to open to allow you to continue. This is where like it becomes really clear, like you both said, you're using these things as a resource. You are becoming part of the system in some way. You're throwing these things wantonly off of cliffs. One of them is straight up like dead, like it's not moving. And you just chuck it off of the building to get it down to where you need it to be. And you drag it manually onto the pressure plate. Like zero regard for these actual humans. And to that end too, like as you go forward in the game, they start to look less and less like people. Like their features start to go away and eventually they're just white marionette figures. It's really kind of creepy once you think about it for a second. In the moment, it's good fun. You know, you're chucking them off and you're like, oh, look at them go. And it's kind of funny, but man, is it kind of unsettling if you like put it into the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, it's pretty disturbing, but interesting. And similarly, I had a lot of fun with these sections. So it's kind of Pikmin-esque, you know? And so I kind of enjoyed building up my little army of little weirdo guys, but it's also heartbreaking.
Yeah, I had so much fun with this part too. Like, and I feel like you could, as the player, like, I don't know if it's like super linear or if you could find all the guys in sort of a different order, but that was fun too, to be like, oh no, let's go see if there's any over there. Let's go back down to this floor. Like, I don't know. I feel like it was one of the more like open worldy parts of the game, for me anyway. So that was fun to just sort of like choose my own adventure there. And yeah, I thought this was a really engaging section, and also like was kind of like a little bit of a mental break for me, because I'm like, oh, I don't have to hopefully hear any horrifying noises or see any scary sirens in the water. So yeah, this is cool.
Yeah, one of the few places that is like multi-level too. You have to go back and forth a whole bunch. It's a neat little like it's definitely more of a traditional puzzle kind of deal. It's fun. It's good fun. Okay, we get to in the game this climactic moment. I love this scene so much. You jump onto this broken platform. You know, as you're doing, you jump onto these decaying and breaking platforms so much in this game, you don't think anything of it. You jump onto one and it breaks, and you fall into the water, and one of those troll ring girls grabs you and pulls you down. And you two had mentioned that you don't remember if there was music in this game. Here, music begins to come up, and it all ties together so well. As you get pulled down, you drown, obviously, but this troll girl, this wraith or whatever you want to call them, she's benevolent. It turns out she's not trying to kill you. She attaches this like helmet to you, one of those mind control helmets, and once you get to the bottom, it somehow revives you. And of note as well, as you're descending, you're going through this darkening water, and the walls are getting a little bit narrower. As you're going down, She's cradling you. This is a reverse birth sequence. You are about to be reborn somehow. What does that mean? It's important though, and as you're going down, the music begins to swell. It's just this bed of synths. And it envelops you like, it's not a bed of synths like you might think of with like John Carpenter in Halloween or something. It's comforting. It's pleasing. It feels like velvet sort of giving you an embrace. This whole section is not scary. It's strangely comforting. And it blew my mind when I saw this, and I was like, they weren't out to kill me after all. They were yes, they drowned me several times. They did kill me, but they were trying to help me do something. And like, I know I'm talking a lot, and I apologize, but this scene blew me away. This is where I started to get really interested in this game. Well, actually, I thought this was going to be the ending, which would have changed my read on it quite a bit. But yeah, I don't know. What do you two think? Am I reading way too far into this?
I don't think so. I think the reverse birth is a really interesting take on this sequence, and especially given what you can kind of how it upgrades you as a character and as both a character narratively and like character mechanically. I think it makes sense. I think I wanted to, because it's one of the few moments where you're not trying to run or hide or solve a puzzle. It was a moment where I was able to kind of stop and think about what I'd done so far and where this was all going. And I think I even had a second too where I was like, is this it? Is this the end? And so I was trying to piece together, like, what is this? How does this fit into the overall like theme or message, or what we're trying to do, what our objective is? And I couldn't quite get there. Like metaphorically, just like being able to breathe underwater, give us something more to this. I couldn't find it if there is. So I don't know. I think it's an interesting sequence. I don't know. Kate, do you have any thoughts?
I thought it was cool. I was like, I didn't pick up on I didn't think about the reverse birth thing. I think what I remembered most about this part was that it kind of is a cutscene, and I love how this game handles cutscenes because it's like the least cutscene. Like it's very like all of a sudden you realize like, oh, I can't control the character right now. Like I just have to submit to what is like unfolding in front of me. And I love the way that this game handled that. Just because it was like, because you've been so focused on like trying to escape from these monster girls in the water. And so I don't know, for me as the player in this moment was just sort of like, oh, like what is going on right now? Am I going to be able to like breathe underwater? Because that's what I've always wanted to do in my real life and also in every game that I play. So I don't know. I just felt like I also had a feeling though of, is it over? I thought this is either over or it's just the beginning. Like it's like halfway over. Like we're entering Act 2 is kind of how I saw it. So yeah, I think it is really visually effective though, and just like a really cool moment to finally like have something change so drastically in the game where it's like you weren't able to stay underwater for very long, and now that's going to be different now. And I just thought that was really cool, the way that they sort of packaged that up for you in this moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree completely. You had mentioned the cutscene aspect, and it was mentioned that this is like a time where you can like relax a little bit. This scene takes its time. It doesn't rush through this. It takes a minute. Not literally, but it takes a little bit of time. They don't rush this at all. It gives the whole thing a chance to breathe, literally, because you can now breathe underwater forever. Really, really cool, man. I love this scene. I'm going to scoot us along just a little bit because the ending is super duper cool too. You make your way through the rest of the research facility. It becomes clear that all of these lifeless husks of people are being experimented on. They are the experiment. You find them increasingly deformed, like hanging in water. We shouldn't move past this. It's a really striking bit of imagery, seeing these bodies sort of floating upside down, like picture a cube on the ceiling and a body hanging down from it, and then just flip that literally upside down. and it's because like water gravity is inverted. It's really, really striking imagery. Like stuff before was unsettling, but seeing this, it's almost Lynchian in a way. It's very, I misused that term, I'm pretty sure, but it's very strange and bizarre.
Yeah,
Very
one of my
cool.
favorite sections. Very, very scary. Or scary is not the right word. Disturbing.
Yeah, really effective.
Oh, I think it's scary. maybe okay. Maybe you're braver than
It's
I.
unsettling. It's just everything you see throughout this game is very disturbing. But this has like just visual connotations that, really up the ante on it.
Okay, so it's time to move into the escaping the factory section. The protagonist, this little tyke, gets sucked into this big water-filled sphere around which there are tons of observers. They're all just watching inside. And when you get sucked inside, you're now naked. And I mean, geez, now I'm just kind of realizing this. You could, because of what's about to happen, you could say that now the reverse birth is kind of complete. You get sucked into this thing, and everybody's watching you, they're observing you, and you are sort of compelled. Well, you're not really compelled, it's our goal as the players, but you can interpret it as the boy being compelled to go to this huge mass of flesh with arms and legs just kind of coming out at random angles. This is the huddle, the blob, the meatball, and you pull these 3 out of 4 like suction cup hats, helmets, mind control thingies off of it. Before you can get the 4th one, it sucks you into it, and we are now the blob. So you are now the hive mind, and you're going to escape. This is pretty cool. This is something that I had thought about, because once this happened, I was like, why are we doing this? You know, why is this the goal? I thought we were just trying to escape everything, but now it seems like this was the goal. And it's like this is why I thought that one of this game's themes, I mean, yes, you can definitely say autonomy and control, like you two were talking about earlier, using people as resources as we get sucked into this thing, and now we are kind of a collective. But like this idea of free will, I was thinking about this in relation to the secret ending, wherein this kid is coming into here with seemingly no motivation, just to join this hive mind thing. And the thing of it is that these people are watching you, and if you look closely, they point at the blob, at the meatball. If you like stand by the window, they'll point to it. As you're trying to escape the factory, yeah, some of them are trying to stop you, but some of them work with you. Some of them work with you and point you to the right direction. Some of them like interact with puzzles with you, which is very cool. And there's even, and I admit I did not see this on my first playthrough, I had to watch a Let's Play to see it. There is a literal diorama of the ending scene set up in an observation room. It's almost like they knew this would happen, and we are the experiment. It is us. And, you know, maybe that doesn't touch on free will versus determinism. That's kind of dealing with the secret ending. But it's just so crazy that it's possible that this was all predetermined. They accounted for this. This was always the plan. Maybe I'm just really susceptible to tricks that developers are trying to pull, and that's why I'm getting giddy about this. But it's just kind of crazy that it recontextualizes everything, that maybe they knew this was going to happen. You are just another test subject. I don't know. Word vomit. I hate to make you go after I just spewed all that out. What do you think? What did you think whenever you got to the meatball and took control of the meatball? Like, what are you thinking?
Kate, do you want to start?
I guess. I don't know. I was just like, this was not what I was expecting. I think I said earlier I was really surprised, and I did not notice the diorama, or like what is it called, like the set design model for what happens to us in the end. I did not notice that. I think I looked it up after, or saw something about it. I watched a video on the other ending because I got what I'm gonna say is the typical ending, the non-special ending. So Yeah, but I just was like, what? Like, I didn't have any theories. I was kind of just overwhelmed with, like, to be quite honest with you, the puzzle where you have to put the like box that's on fire and you have to throw it over the sprinklers, that I was fighting for my life and all I could focus on was just achieving that. Because when you start mechanically controlling the blob, the meatball, the huddle, it feels totally different. For me, it felt really difficult to control, especially like it's harder to be precise. There might even be moments where you like lose a leg or lose an arm or lose a guy, and that was really horrifying
Yeah.
to me. And you know, it's got all these like weird fleshy sounds, and everything that happens is reinforced in the audio. So for me, I was just like, is this is a real like, but again I was laughing because I was like, this is so ridiculous, like I just have to laugh. And it felt like a really big difficulty, a big increase in difficulty for me, that puzzle in particular, to just get through the sprinklers. So yeah, I don't know, I think I was just a little bit overwhelmed, to be honest, with where that went, to really think about what it could possibly mean. So yeah, but it was funny and strange, and yeah, I still don't know. I still don't know about it all, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I have so many thoughts about this. First off, I mean, my initial response was just utter shock and bewilderment. Like this just simply cannot be what is happening right now. And it unfortunately was just so funny for so much of it. Like, it's a horrible thing that you've experienced. And I do think that this kind of took away a little bit for me from the overall vibes and themes of the game, was just the slapstick nature of what you have to do as this blob. Like that section with like setting setting the box on fire. And then I was like, y'all are not about to make me set a box on fire and then lob it over to myself to catch. This is outrageous. I actually, when I got to that section, there's this is so horrible. I'm sorry for laughing. There's that furnace, and I didn't really notice the box at first. I just saw the door. You know, you get trained over time in this game to just, if you see a door, like pry it open. So I see the door, I open it, it leads to a furnace, and my first thought is, this is how it's gonna end. We're gonna shove ourselves. The blob is gonna shove itself. So I tried and I couldn't. So I was like, okay, I guess this isn't
I thought that too.
where our path ends. What else can I do? But it's like, we don't fit. Oh no, pivot,
I did
pivot,
the same
plan
exact
B.
thing, Emily.
But oh god, it was so ridiculous. I will say, going back, Rick, to what you said about this idea of maybe the kid has been part of the experiment all along. I didn't put it together while I was playing, but about halfway through the game, before any of this happened with the blob, there was a moment where I was playing and noticed that, like, the kid has this funny way of moving where if you, like, change directions really fast, there's, like, a little bit of a ragdoll effect. And the mind-controlled humans have that ragdoll effect, but turned up to 11, where, like, if they're going really fast in one direction and you turn them in a different direction, all their limbs kind of take a second to like catch up because they're not in control of themselves, right? And I just kind of noticed that the kid has like a teeny bit of that ragdoll. And so I had this moment halfway through. I was like, that's weird. I wonder if, are we one of them? And then I kind of shrugged it off. I was like, nah, that doesn't make any sense. Or like, why would that be? But so I feel like there's maybe something to that. That's all I got for you, though. As far as supporting that.
That's a killer observation. It's entirely possible that was intentional, as a little subtlety for, keen-eyed players like you that would notice that and begin thinking like, maybe we don't have so much, maybe we do have more in common, us and them. And I'm glad, okay, you're touching on the mind control stuff. The secret ending doesn't like build off of the actual ending, so let's touch on that here super quick. The secret ending, there are these little doodads, like actually they look like big mind control helmets throughout the game. There's like 15 of them or something like that, that are very well hidden, and I definitely would not have gotten all of them if I didn't know where to go. I didn't, by the way. I just watched this on YouTube. But if you do all of that, there is this secret entrance in a cornfield at the very beginning of the game. And if you go down there, you can find this computer with, I couldn't tell if there's a person in front of it, but there's like a big computer with a mind control device just hanging there. And you can pull out the plug that's powering everything. You pull on it once and it sparks, and you look over at the computer almost as if the game's asking you, are you sure? You pull it out and everything goes dark, and the kid assumes one of the like zombie people poses, like just kind of hunched over, lifeless. And what this is saying is just exactly what you were saying, Emily, that you are one of these. And there's like a meta commentary there too. The kid is being controlled by us, the player. Control is everywhere. This is what ties into the like free will thing. This kid, if it was determined, if this was determinism, fate is going to happen no matter what, you can't change it. The kid was always supposed to go to the blob. That was the plan. Here, the kid is sort of breaking out, using that free will to change things. And I think that's a really interesting angle to look at this with, not so much as because of the free will aspect, because that's not cliche, but like it's been done before. But like, if that was the plan, if that was always the plan, in some ways, this ending becomes even more tragic, the standard ending. Because, well, actually, a pause on that. I don't want to like steamroll past this and not give you two a chance to speak. What did you think of the secret ending?
Well, I guess all of my thoughts do kind of relate back to the main ending, and I agree that it makes the main ending very tragic and a little depressing, because it means that if the goal is to escape this sort of system, and that's kind of how I see the point of this game being in the end, is like there's this oppressive system that governs everything, where we aren't really human beings with dignity. We're all just, hamsters and hamster wheels, gears in the cogs or whatever. That, and the goal is to escape this oppressive system. The blob did not escape. They thought they did. They found some kind of like superficial feeling of freedom, but they didn't actually achieve freedom. So the secret ending kind of, I guess, alludes to the idea that like the only true freedom is to take down the system from within. So that was my takeaway.
I really like that, Emily, and I feel like, yeah, for me, like, I guess what I just think of is like, you can't, it seems like hard to take down the system from within as like a solo one person, like if I'm just thinking about it and like how it could potentially relate to real life. But I would say overall, like for me, I think I need a little bit more. Like, it's not that I'm not a fan of the ambiguity or like player take their own meaning from the game type of thing. I think that when it's executed really well for my taste, I really enjoy that. But for me, it was just like, I didn't really have any burning questions at the end of like, what does it mean? I want to figure out what it means, and I want to find my own takeaway from it. Like, I guess I just was kind of like, okay, it's over. Like, that was a fun puzzle platformer game. Like, that was a good game as a video game. So yeah, I don't know. And like, it's possible that I will have more thoughts on it as the days go by. That often happens with me in games, but I think I just wasn't given enough, or perhaps didn't notice enough to think about the larger possible themes, I guess, is what I'll say with both of the endings. So
Sure, I can understand that, and you're right. Like sitting with something like this for a couple days, whether it's this or an album, a play, it doesn't matter. Sitting with something, or even going through it more than once, that's when you start to really unlock what's going on. Get into the marrow of the bones of it. You can't understand an album in a day. I think Jay-Z said that, and he's right. But same too here, especially with how bite-sized this is. It's not like an 80-hour JRPG. You can do it a couple times. I am really partial to what you were saying, Emily. With respectfully, Kate, I'm really partial to what you were saying about escaping the system because that's what I interpreted at first. The ending, the standard ending. So the standard ending, the blob does escape. The meatball escapes, gets off the plate, and it busts out of the facility and it rolls down uncontrollably down this hill on the outside. This is the first time, by the way, that we see sunlight. And it rolls and it rolls and it rolls down this mountainside, hitting trees. And when it finally bounces and hits the ground and comes to a stop, it is in this patch of sunlight, this ray of sunlight. The sea or the river is lapping behind it. It's pure bliss. You don't hear anything. The blob, the meatball, does not move at all. It's perfectly still. And it just sits there. And it sits there. And it takes a while for the credits to come up. I freaking love this ending. And my first interpretation of it was, if we're going back to that idea of the doldrums of modern work life, of being controlled by your corporation, by your employer, of not having a way out of this system that so cripples us on a day-to-day basis and sucks the soul out of who we are. The only way to escape was to join the hive mind, come together, bust out of it, even if it means your lives. And that's what happened down here. The escape is death. And it's a particularly bleak interpretation of it. I'll give you that. I don't know that I would stand by it 100%, but it's the first place my mind went to of breaking out of some oppressive system, no matter what it is. It doesn't have to be work. It's just kind of where I went to at first, like, the capitalist drive of what we have to do on the day-to-day to survive. It doesn't have to be that. It can be any oppressive system. Breaking out of it, even at the cost of your life, might mean achieving true freedom. I don't know if that's where I ultimately land. It's a bleak in some ways. It's kind of bittersweet in some ways. I still think it's very interesting that they kind of charted that out in the diorama. Maybe this was all part of the grand experiment. That does confuse me as to why some of the employees were trying to stop you, but details. I don't know. This ending was a lot of the game was just kind of a game to me. I was like, yeah, okay, this is fun, sure. But this ending kind of stopped me in my tracks. It's really effective. I love that they don't play an ending theme. That would have kind of sucked. They just let you sit and think about it. They let you sit in it and stew in it, just like the scene with the troll lady, the little monster girl. It breathes and it lets you sit in that moment, see what's going on. I don't know. It was really powerful to me. It's entirely possible I'm just being overly pretentious about this. It was moving. It was very moving to me.
I think that's cool. Like, I wish I've definitely had similar feelings in games before, like where I feel like I can just sit and think and it really moves me and it stays with me. And like, I've just noticed right now, at least, it's not really popping into my head that often. And I think I just kind of, but I want to feel the way that you're describing, Rick. Like, it sounds really cool. So I feel that. And I think that that is what is so cool about games, is like they can really, yeah, stick with us and make us think about things that we maybe didn't think about before. But I just feel like, for me, I just kind of sat there like, okay, I think I'm done with the game and I'm just kind of ready to move on to the next thing. But I don't know, really curious to see if that changes for me over time, like I said.
Well, and that's the cool thing about games too, is even if you get to the end here and it's just reaching you on a purely visual level, visual, auditory, and up until this point, you're just enjoying the gameplay and, you're just taking this in for a visual experience. If you had a good time, that's what matters. That's what it is. There's no right way to interpret anything. I mean, you got to justify it, of course. I can't just say that this game was about the 1920s Olympics or something. I can't justify that. But there's no right or wrong way to do this or to look at a piece of art and say, blah, 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 blah. It's not wrong. You just have to say why you felt that. And if that's what made it succeed for you, that's all that matters. You don't have to be a blowhard like me and spout all this garbage. It can just be what it is. I don't know. I stole the floor from Emily. I didn't mean to.
Oh, no, not at all. I think for me, this game lies somewhere in between being just a really great gameplay experience. Like, I think that they really nailed the puzzle platforming. And and it like almost reaches getting a little bit more meaning out of it and being powerful. I think it kind of missed maybe what it was trying to go for me. I think it was really hard for me to take myself out of the absurdism of like spending, I don't know, however much time you spend as the Blob. I just really had a hard time pulling myself back into the game after that. But I do love a game where there's a lot to dig into, and from watching videos and reading about it after finishing it, that's helped me see kind of some of these details that I wasn't able to focus on in the moment. And I love a game that you can speculate about. So I think that is really cool. I think the world of the game that they've built left me with a lot of questions in a good way. I want to learn more about this world. Why is this happening? What's going on? You know, like when the kid pulls the plug on the computer in the secret ending, like, is he still alive? Is anybody saved? Is he kind of starting everything over blank slate? Like, what is the impact of that? I think is really interesting and fun to speculate about. So I think from that perspective, they did a good job for me as far as, creating a story that I want to ponder a little bit,
Yeah, I feel like it's clear that it resonated with so many people, and that a lot of people have been able to have some really awesome like observations and thoughts about all the different things that this could mean. Like, just reading all the Steam reviews and seeing all the YouTube videos, like, I love that games can make people do this and make people want to create, I mean, like, basically what the three of us are doing right now. Like, it's really, really awesome. So I feel, yeah, and I honestly would play it again. Like, I could see this being like something I play with my friends every October. So yeah, I would really be curious to see what sticks out to me on a second playthrough, and I liked it enough that I would, like I said, play it again. So yeah, I think it's cool. I really like what you've both kind of made me think about. I like everything that everyone shared, and I'll be interested to see how I approach the game next time.
Yeah, really well said. I agree with the both of you. Well, you said it and kind of hinted at it. It's not like this game as a whole kind of blew my socks off. I love the ending, and that climactic scene, like with the underwater drowning, I liked quite a bit too. As a whole package, it's good. It's really good. I don't know, Kate, if I would replay it every October like you just said, but I can see why you might want to, especially with some other folks. I think its strength is that it is vague in that way and gives you a lot of room to explore what you think it's trying to say without being too prescriptive about it and telling you what it's trying to say. And yeah, I mean, that can be a little at odds with how good the puzzling is, and it might kind of pull you in and out, but your mileage may vary on that also. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really thrilled that you two brought this to the plate. I'm glad that this gave me the push to play it. So I got to thank you both.
Hey, me too. Thank you for offering, the opportunity. And I think this was the right moment for me to finally play this game.
Totally. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And of course, thank you listeners for sticking around. I say it every time. I'm really thankful for all of you. And I'm thankful for you two as well, Emily and Kate and Emily. You two are first timers here, so our good listeners haven't heard the good word about No Small Games, a podcast that the two of you run. So if you wouldn't mind, I would love if you could take a second to explain what your podcast is, what you've got going on, and if you could, a good first introduction episode.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Rick, again, first off, for having us on. No Small Games is a bi-weekly podcast where we do deep dive reviews of all kinds of indie games, every genre you can think of. We will touch on it. We sometimes have guests, sometimes it's just the two of us. We do deep dive reviews. We also do monthly indie game roundups where we talk. Those are the no holds barred episodes where we just talk about every indie game we've been playing and what's coming up soon and what indie game demos we've been playing. So those are our episodes, I'll let Kate tell you about the website and all that good stuff. Maybe we can each say an episode recommendation for people to start with. I would say a favorite of mine, and I think of a lot of our listeners, is the UFO 50 episode from last winter. That is a really, really fun one.
I love that one. That was fun. Yeah, and so we also, in addition to what Emily said, we also have a website, nosmallgames.com, where you can listen to all of our episodes, but where we also publish full reviews on indie games, as well as sort of listicle style articles, stuff about indie game music, our impressions on new games that we're playing, trends that we're seeing in indie games. So we also have links to other podcasts that we've guested on our website, so it's kind of the best place to go to see all of our work. And yeah, we just really love each other. We love indie games, and we're having a great time. And thank you so much, Rick, for having us. This was really, really great. And I guess if I was going to recommend an episode of No Small Games, I think the Pixel Project Radio community in particular, and you, Rick, would maybe enjoy our Vampire Therapist episode. This is where we get a little more philosophical and really deep. So yeah, that was, I want to say, 2 falls ago, so it's a little bit back there, but we also have an interview with the developer of the game tacked on to the end of that episode, so I would recommend starting there if you want.
Very cool. I actually have not heard that episode yet, so thank you. I will be checking that out. So thank you to, again, you can find all No Small Games links in the episode description. You can find them on the socials, on their website. You can listen to them wherever you're listening to this, too. You can also find links to all of our stuff in the episode description, the Pixel Project Radio stuff, the socials, mainly Blue Sky and Instagram, link to the free Discord, where I would love to continue this conversation, and our Patreon page, if you're feeling so generous. You can find us there and see what you can get inside of that. All of that in the description, all of No Small Game stuff in the description, and I thank you for checking it out. And of course, once again, I thank you two, Kate, Emily, Kate, for coming on to the show. You two are terrific.
Aw, thank you, Rick.
Thank you so
This
much.
has been so fun. This has been great.
Yes.
Well, we've made it outside of inside, so I think now is as good of a time as any to sign off for the day. My name is Rick. I'm your host. I appreciate y'all as always. See you next time. Take care.